The once undefeated Falcons and undefeated Diggers are undefeated no more, picking up their first losses of the season. Unfortunately for them, they were losses in the playoffs, so the season is done for friends in Montana Tech. But Grandview continues to roll on along, and the win streak is now to 26. We're going to talk about that and more tonight on college football this week. Welcome to Midwest Sportsnet. I'm Joey McWilliams. Glad to be along with you all tonight. A number of folks already in the chat. Thank you for letting us know who you are, from where you are watching tonight, and for whom you happen to be cheering. And I know there are some folks who are excited tonight, and there are some folks who are in the chat regularly that may not be as happy. We'll get to all of that and a whole lot more. But before we do that, let's go into one of the games in particular, and I am going to bring back up a person who I think, Tom, I think that you may have officially reached friend of the channel status at this point. So
can I get one of those little nameplates, to set in front of my little desk here, across the front? Friend of the program.
We try to get a blazer if we can to send your way. So just go from there.
Thank you for the invitation, man. I appreciate it. I'm very happy to be here this evening.
All right, Tom Kautz, officially introduced now as the voice of the Benedictine Ravens, and a big-time win on that one. Now, I know we have 3 games to talk about tonight, but let's get the one for you so we can visit just a little bit. You had a chance to watch what was probably the best game of the weekend in Wichita, and it was Benedictine coming away with a 6-point victory, 24-18 over Friends. 12-2 all time against the Falcons. That's something to just throw in there as a number really quickly. But about this game in particular, okay, it's in the rearview mirror now. Benedictine gets the win. As a Benedictine fan, I mean, how does this feel to have this one in the rearview mirror now? Because you knew Friends was going to be a challenge.
Everybody knew Friends was going to be a challenge, and the Friends was really, really good. And Joey, I don't know whether to try to take this as from the perspective of Raven fan or personal perspective, but I'm going to kind of blend them a little bit. I think, okay, all right, for me, I think Benedictine had to come into this with a little chip on their shoulder. Through the entire season, they're number 3 in the nation. After their game with Grandview and their game with Morningside, they're number 3 in the nation. Week 2, 3, 4, 5, week 10, week 11. Then comes the postseason seedings, and suddenly the 2 undefeateds bump them. Ravens fall to 5. So suddenly Benedictine in round 2 is number 5. So they're not playing at Larry Wilcox Stadium on the BC campus. They're on the road in round 2. And so, I feel like maybe that certainly didn't hurt their desire to come away with a big road win here Saturday.
Okay. I understand that. And anything that you can use like that for motivation has to be helpful and clearly made a difference. I'm sure if that was something that Coach Osborne talked about, the regional coach of the year for Region 3, according to the AFCA, NAIA region coach of the year, did a fantastic job. And I think another name that has to be mentioned in this, Trevor Strong, defensive coordinator, because you're going against a Friends team and it's already been put into the comment section tonight. I think Tool Envy has said that, well, he said all season long, Friends has been a problem. No longer a problem right now, but Friends has been a problem. And what Coach Strong and Coach Osborne did and that entire staff just, in essence, took out an offense that is unique, and it's been effective all year long. Talk about the defense.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit about Coach Strong. Number one, fantastic guy. We interviewed him. He was, matter of fact, our halftime guest in a little pre-recorded interview for Saturday, because we knew what his group was going to mean, to the outcome of this ball game. And it's, Joy, it's such a small world. There are little connections. We talked about one meeting before we got started tonight. How about Coach Trevor Strong? He graduated from Morningside University. Okay, so here's a team with whom Benedictine has a great history. After he graduates Morningside University, where does he end up coaching 7 years before coming to Benedictine? Southwestern. He is intimately familiar with the KCAC. He's intimately familiar with Friends University and extremely familiar with what I refer to as a double wing offense that they were running. They're going to call it a flex bone. Benedictine ran it back in the early 80s, and so, we're all familiar with that. And so his knowledge of that system and that program, and had to really, I think, come into play and be a huge benefit for Benedictine coming into this. I mean, they did not come in unknowing.
Right, exactly right. And it's an offense that they'll see one time a year at best. And so, but they took advantage of it, did exactly what they needed to do to get things done. Now, the on the other side of the ball, Jackson Dooley, another game, very effective. And so the numbers necessarily aren't there because he went against a very strong defense as well. Friends was number 2 in the country coming in. I think that they are now number 3 in the country in defensive points per game given up. So it was going against a very solid defense as well, and Dooley was effective leading the way through and leads his team on to 24 points.
Yeah, and Jackson handles himself so well. There's one of the earmarks of a great quarterback. You know, they don't necessarily have to run a lot or throw a lot. They have to be, you know, that facilitator, the guy who makes everything come together, the guy that makes everyone else on the team better. And Jackson does that. And I love the little things he does. He holds the ball for the kickoff or for the PATs and field goals, and you will see him 1, 2, 3, making sure that they're, you know, that there are the 9 guys in front of him, that everybody's out there. It's the little things like that he does. And in a game like this, there is no room for error. Coming into the game, Benedictine knew that with that flex bone offense, what Friends wants to do is take a lot of time. They're going to limit possessions by burning a lot of time. And Gus and I on the ride down, we're guessing 8 possession game for each team. And that's not very many. Turned out Benedictine ended up with 7 possessions on the day. Okay. And ultimately we were able to score on all but one of them. And so, you know, that was a huge part of the day for BC. And ultimately then, of course, Friends, by limiting Benedictine, kind of limits their own number of possessions. And in doing so, on that last drive, you know, ran out of time, and a huge defensive play. Again, you talk about Coach Strong's defense, a huge defensive play where one of the defensive guys who doesn't necessarily get a lot of credit a lot of time during the course of the year because he's just one of the group of so many guys who plays well, anticipated the play, got in that little passing lane, kind of a little shovel pass, slapped the ball away, covered it up, and finished the game with 3 seconds left.
Absolutely. It's Trey Williams. And since you're there, let's go ahead and talk about that. Well, let's lead into it just a little bit then. The Benedictine defense holds serve through the first half. And so, you know, Benedictine able to get a touchdown on the board, then get another touchdown on the board. Friends with a touchdown, first one of the day, actually passing touchdown. You know, you just don't see that very often, but not that Cavante Baker can't throw the ball. He's just so effective leading the offense and running the ball as well. But they get on the board, then, you know, the 3 points, the field goal, 17-7, the halftime score. You can't imagine that Friends is going to stay quiet, you know, and there's going to be a rally, which there was. But how big was it to have that 10-point advantage going into the break? Okay,
and this was another topic we discussed on the way down. It was kind of cold. It was crazy windy. The wind was, you know, just howling through that stadium down in Wichita. And the question was, in our minds, if you win the flip of the coin, in this day and age, you defer. I mean, typically you defer to the second half, take the ball to begin the third quarter, hope for that double score at the end of the half and the start of the second half. Well, if you win the flip of the coin, do you do that, or do you want the ball? And against a team that is used to running up big scores early and used to jumping out in front, well, what Benedictine did was what I kind of hoped they would do. They won the flip of the coin, elected to accept the football, marched that first drive downfield, and they did something that joint teams had not done to Friends. And I think here's your pivot of the game for me. They've got them behind. They put Friends trailing. Then they not only 7-0, but then 10-0. Friends has not done that all year. In the course of the first, 12 games of the year, Friends trailed 30 minutes and 5 seconds in total all season. They never trailed anybody. Benedictine allowed them to lead for no seconds in the ball game. Friends never got an advantage, never got in front. Ravens made them play from behind all day, and that was, I think, absolutely a big deal.
Absolutely. We're on college football this week on this Sunday night, talking with Tom Kautz, who's the voice of the Benedictine Ravens. Shout out to the folks who are in the chat already tonight. Shout out to Tool Envy. Sean in the chat tonight as well. Edwin, Dave, Leo, Robert, Matt, all you guys that are watching tonight. Sean, I think I mentioned Sean. Yeah, all of you all watching tonight. And if you're watching us, let us know from where you're watching and who you're going to be cheering for. Only 4 teams left, by the way. I mean, you can tell us who you regularly cheer for during the regular season. Tom, it get to the second half, Friends rallies, and I would imagine you have to expect something like that they're not just going to lay down and die. However, with a running offense like that, and again, someone who grew up in Oklahoma, who watched the Sooners run the ball. If they ever got down, it was challenging to get back into it. But the Falcons made the run. They get back into it, and in the fourth quarter, get it back to within 6, hold on defense, get the ball back, just less than 3 minutes left. And I mean, driving, get it into the red zone, get it down to within the 10, and go for it on fourth down. But you talked about what Trey Williams did there, and I want to throw his name out again because to me, that's the play of the game. He had, I believe, let me make sure here, I think he had 7 tackles on the night, actually 7 tackles on the day, 1 tackle for loss, that a 14-yard tackle for loss as well, and the game-saving forced fumble and fumble recovery with 3 seconds remaining.
Yeah, and we're gonna back up just a little bit, if you don't mind, to what really made that into the game so thrilling and so impactful was Friends trailed at halftime, as you mentioned. At the end of the third quarter, they scored. With 15 seconds left, they scored a touchdown. Cavante Baker carries one in. And so now Friends is trailing, 24-13. They decide to go for 2 at that point. Now, I didn't even see that coming. I think you kick the PAT, and you get yourself, in that kind of a position. But they decided at that juncture to go for 2. And that put them then at the end of the game trailing only by 6. They were successful in the 2-point conversion. So instead of going down 7, you go down 6, and you got a chance on that last 3-second play. You punch it in and win at home. And yeah. I thought that was a courageous, and it turned into a very successful play at that moment by the coaching staff. Absolutely.
Well, it was a big-time win for Benedictine, and so much to talk about. As you mentioned, fantastic for Benedictine fans. Moving on to the semifinal round. Shout out to Doug, by the way, in the chat tonight. And folks here on Midwest Sportsnet, you're going to see Doug a lot more in the future, so we're glad he's watching and a part of the show tonight as well. You look ahead then, Tom, and hey, guess what? It's a rematch. Someone that you might be familiar with, and if you follow the way that the football championship series is played out, and excuse me, the way that the committee sets things up from round to round and weekend to weekend, you had to see this matchup coming, expected it to be there. And if for lack of anything else, I mean, Hart North versus Hart South, you don't have a championship game in the conference. Well, why not this?
Yeah. And I would think Nick Rule, the commissioner of the Heart of America Athletic Conference, has got to be thrilled. He's got a team in his conference guaranteed to be in the title
exactly.
game. And so if I'm Nick, I'm walking around proud as a peacock, and just tickled to death with this. But the question is, who's it going to be? Now, these two teams played. For Benedictine, it was week 2 of the year after having beaten Morningside in week 1. For Grandview, it was week 1 of the season. And we played it up in Des Moines at MediaCom Stadium, which is on the Drake campus. Beautiful, beautiful facility. And it was a game that was hard fought. I mean, it came down to the end. And, of course, when it was said and done, it was a 27-24 win for Grandview at home. Ravens missed a field goal in the course of that game. And it was everything everyone had expected it to be. Neither team has lost a game since then. And these two clubs have a great, strong history since Grandview joined the conference, a handful of years ago.
Absolutely. It's one of those things. Let me ask you this really quickly, too. For both teams, things are different in December than they are in August and September. And that would seem to be a given. For Coach Osborne, he's seen a lot. He's been there for Coach Peterson. You go back, that was his first game as the head coach. And so, obviously he's been a part of it for many years prior to this. However, for him, just like what we said at the beginning, you get that one game behind you. That was one you look at and go, okay, whew, all right, that was a tough one. We can move on. For Coach Peterson, very first out of the chute game that he's got Benedictine. And so you get that done. Okay, you get that one done, move on through the season. There were some ups and downs for Grandview along the way. Do you see anything in these two teams where you look at and go, wow, this one is really different than they were back then? Or, just the usual, it's the 3 months worth of advancing?
I think that these two teams are, from what I can see, and I've watched Benedictine all year, as good as I knew they were at the beginning of the year, they're better today. They've continued to improve. The depth of the team has continued to increase. They found new guys that have come in, some of the redshirt freshmen, some of the young guys who you didn't know in week 1 or 2 what they were going to do and how much they were going to contribute. And you found out that they are and that they have been. And I think Grandview has continued to improve. I mean, you look at some of the scores that they've been able to run up, and yet these two teams, without all of that, whenever they play, there's tremendous rivalry. You've got to understand that Benedictine had, gosh, I'm going to pull a number out of the sky, like a 300-game streak when they had not gone scoreless. Grandview shut them out. And that was like 4 or 5 years ago. That broke that long Raven streak. For Grandview, they are on an incredibly long regular season winning streak. I mean, it's a huge number. The last team to beat Grandview in the regular season, Joey, I don't even have to tell you who it was. It was Benedictine that did that.
Benedictine, yeah.
They've got some things going on, and the fact that this is a semifinal game for the national tournament is just going to add just a little bit more flavor to this. It's going to be fantastic.
Well, I look forward to watching those games online, but also I enjoy listening to. I'm kind of old school when it comes to that, and having broadcast for a number of years on the radio myself, I enjoy just tuning in and listening as well. Sometimes turning on the broadcast on TV and listening to the radio broadcast. So if people want to hear your broadcast, and there are some Benedictine folks out there. And by the way, I saw Leo said he should have been listening to you when the friend stream went down, in the second half. I was kind of lost. What am I going to do talking about this? But if he wants to listen to you, where does he turn?
Here's the deal. The Care Radio broadcast is rock solid, and you can listen to it if you're in the Atchison area, 93.7 FM. If you want to put it on your phone, you can listen to it in your car, or listen to it in your headset, or listen to it anywhere you want to go. Free app, MSC Radio. Like many Signals Communications, MSC Radio, Care Radio is right there. It's a free app. And then if you want that game, if you missed part of that game and you're like, oh, what happened? Every Benedictine game, and I'm just looking at, 4 or 5 years, and all the other games that we do are all archived on our mscsports.net website. Go to audio, go to game broadcast. They are all archived, and they're all free. There's no charge for any of this, and you are very welcome to tune any of those in, and we would enjoy having you with us.
And I have heard Tom and Gus before, and I will tell you, it is a great broadcast, and I appreciate listening to you. And Tom, very thankful that you have been on with us tonight talking about that game. A great game this weekend, but it's a privilege to have you stop by the channel. And I will definitely say we're giving you officially, as of tonight, friend of the channel status. So I don't know that there's a nameplate on the way, but we'll see what we can do by Christmas.
Well, if you mentioned if there may be a jacket involved, can I get it here by Saturday? It's supposed to be 8 degrees, okay, up in Des Moines at the stadium. We're not playing downtown. We're playing at the Duke Williams Stadium. The Grandview shares with a few high schools in town. So, 8 degrees after an overnight low of -3. So I would be happy to have that park.
Well, there's a difference between a park and a blazer, but I don't know. We'll find out if it's in the budget. And
last
we'll go
year
from
we
there.
were at Kaiser. It was 74.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
This will be different.
God bless you, Tom. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Have a great night, sir.
You're the best anytime.
All right, we're going to let him hopefully just save up some warmth to get ready. 8 degrees. Man, I hadn't looked ahead at the forecast for that one too, but that is something else. All right, so we are here. College football this week on a Sunday night again. Let's run through really quickly. Edwin, of course, watching tonight. Thank you very much, Edwin, for watching from New Jersey. Go Yotes, and you have a lot to cheer for there. A whole lot to cheer for. I did not have that there. Leo, the Ravens are flying high in the sky, so there we go. We've already mentioned Tulin be talking about friends. Sean, definitely Vikings keep on going. Sean, just keep on watching, man. We'll probably wind up, who knows, we're going to talk about the Vikings on through for a little bit more. Let me stop right there. Programming note really quickly. Everyone circle this one. If you do enjoy the broadcasts here on Midwest Sportsnet for college football this week, I realize we cover more on Midwest Sportsnet than just NAIA football and college football as a whole. However, we are continuing college football this week into the offseason, and we are looking to go throughout the 52 weeks of the year with NAIA football commentary and content and a whole lot more here on Midwest Sportsnet. So we'll see how the live stream goes, whether it's Thursday night or Sunday through the off season. Could be both. We might do both, but we'll check on that. But college football this week will continue into the off season. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that one right there. And Tulin, be excited about the Ravens-Vikings game. I think there should be, might be the two best teams left. You could be right. Now, I can't get through all of these, but I did want to put this one up here really quickly. Okay, Friends is out. Robert's saying Friends is out. Gotta find another team to root for. So you started with Concordia, went to Friends, and I think that Tool Envy is saying, listen, why don't you pick a team other than the Vikings? He doesn't want you cheering for their team. That is all right. Doug, thank you for stopping by tonight. Matt on the channel as well tonight, and a whole lot more in the comment section tonight. So I really appreciate you watching. Michael, go Seahawks. And Michael, back in the chat tonight. Man, you still have a team in the hunt. So 4 teams that are left. Let's look really quickly at these games tonight and talk about them. Number 1 is Benedictine and Friends. Benedictine and Friends. And the numbers from that one, we talked about the 24-18, and Tom just did a great job of recapping that. Benedictine in the semifinals again this year and lost to Grandview last year. It's only a 3-hour trip to Des Moines, by the way, and there was no question that this was going to be the matchup. So you kind of saw this coming. There's going to be only one flight if they can keep it that way, and so that flight would clearly be someone going from the Frontier Conference and the Mountain Time Zone to the east. And so sending them all the way across the country to Kaiser. College of Idaho played Kaiser a couple of years ago in the semifinals. So that's a rematch there from 2 years ago. This is a rematch from earlier this season as well. And Jackson Dooley, 12 of 21 passing, 149 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Xavier Ugorji, 18 carries, 118 yards rushing, 1 rushing touchdown. Titan Osborne, 3 catches for 56 yards, including 1 touchdown. That was a 49-yard touchdown in the second quarter. Really extended that lead. Wasn't the game winner, but it pushed the lead up to 10 points by the intermission. So that was a big touchdown there. Ben Gilliland with 13 tackles on the day. He had a big afternoon. Anthony Lonergan, 8 tackles, 1 interception. And Trey Williams, we talked about him just a little bit earlier, 7 tackles, one of them a tackle for loss, which sent the Falcons back 14 yards. The game-saving forced fumble and fumble recovery with 3 seconds left on the clock as Friends was moving inside the 10-yard line. A heartbreaker of a loss for the Falcons, led by Cavante Baker, 18 carries for 82 yards, had 1 rushing touchdown, 2 for 4 passing, which is not a bad day for Baker on the whole, 46 yards, threw 1 touchdown pass, no interceptions, but it just was not enough. And by the way, we'll talk about Friends' rushing numbers more, but I think it warrants mention that the Falcons ended the season with 5,979 rushing yards as a team. I really, and I mean this, I sincerely thought they would hit 6,000. 1 more game clearly would have done it. 21 yards clearly would have done it. 21 more yards, and they were about 8 yards away from the score there at the very end. It's a tough way to end a season. Congratulations to the Falcons, though. We really appreciate Coach Harrison and what he's done there, and just it's a great program. So there we go. Grandview coming off the win this weekend, and it is now 26 consecutive wins. I think I got that right, Tool Envy. 26 consecutive wins, 35-7 over Lindsey Wilson. The Vikings took the opening possession, 77 yards in 9 plays. It was capped by Dalton Van Pelt 1-yard touchdown run. And how big is Dalton Van Pelt? I mean, the rushing numbers, again, over the course of the season, not monster numbers, but he has big carries, and Coach Peterson knows when to bring him in there, and he was, again, solid. A 1-yard run for a touchdown. Lindsey Wilson gets the ball, goes a little ways, but Defense holds, and then a blocked punt gives the Vikings really good field possession. And right after that, Waring gets a 9-yard touchdown run. The Vikings are up 14-0. They did not look back at that point. By the way, that was all the scoring in the first half. And when you came back, well, it proved to be all the scoring that Grandview needed. 35-7, the final. Waring 14 of 20 passing, 70% completion through the air, 179 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks, 12 carries, 455 yards, and a rushing touchdown as well for Waring. Bryant Williams, 10 carries, 77 yards rushing, and his 3rd rushing touchdown of the season. Isaiah Toki had a couple of receptions, 43 yards. That led the way in that category, 43 yards receiving. And Isaac Krotzel. You know what? I tried. Krotzel. I'm going to hang on. Just hang on. Let me make sure I get this right. Krotzel. I did get it right. There we go. By the way, thanks to Blake Haney, who is the SID there at Grandview. I want to make sure I pronounced that correctly. Krotzel. He had the touchdown, the kickoff return for the touchdown after the Lindsey Wilson score that really just sealed the deal. Lindsey Wilson never got any momentum going after that. Jackson Filer, 10 tackles to lead the way for the Vikings defense, 2 tackles for loss, and a pass breakup as well. For Lindsey Wilson, Max Gainey, 6 catches, 59 yards on the day. He continues to increase that number. Single season leader in receiving yards for the Blue Raiders. That number ends this season at 939. Caleb Bridges, coming off of 4 interceptions last week, did not have 4 picks on Saturday, but did lead the team with 8 tackles. So Grandview moves on and will play Benedictine. And College of Idaho. This one was a big game. It did not work out in the favor of the Ore Diggers, who came in undefeated. I know, much to the dismay of Henchman 21. And I think over the Discord chat, people were checking on him to make sure he was okay. He did come out and say, hey, his head was held high, chin up, and it's been a solid season for the Ore Diggers. A game of quarters. College of Idaho gets out, puts 14 points on the board. Montana Tech comes back, puts 13 more. And then the third quarter was all College of Idaho. You cannot say enough, I don't think, about the defense here. And we said, as a matter of fact, our Bet the Barn segment, which we'll get to here in just a moment, we talked about which team would win the turnover battle in this game. And whoever won it, we thought, might come away with the win. Now, I realize that's something you say about any game, but this was one in particular because College of Idaho had a +4 turnover margin on the season. Montana Tech +14 turnovers on the season, and it wound up being College of Idaho. Montana Tech threw 2 picks and had a fumble that was lost. So 3 turnovers. The Yotes had no turnovers, at least on that side. Did not give the ball away. So +3 to College of Idaho. They win that battle. They win the game. 41-26 was the final. I don't think I've given enough credit to Caden Young this year. And we did, again, another Bet the Barn segment. Let's go back to a Bet the Barn segment when College of Idaho was playing Carroll. Which Caden was going to come out on top? Would it be Caden Young or Caden Hewitt? I thought it'd be Caden Hewitt. Was totally wrong on that one as Caden Young came with the much better afternoon statistically for what Caden Hewitt had. Well, same thing here. I really felt like Jarrett Wilson was playing well, and Jarrett Wilson also, by the way, did play very well. His numbers are far superior to what Caden Young's were. All he did was lead his team to a win. Very consistent. Now, he took advantage of good field position coming off of turnovers, and the 2 turnovers in the first quarter really did make the difference and set the tone for this game. And then in the third quarter, College of Idaho puts a couple of scores on the board. Montana Tech driving back. Looks like there's going to be maybe this momentum swing. You can get it back. Ball knocked up in the air. Taken away by College of Idaho. Bam, 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 another score. And just like that, it's 34-13 at that point. So the Yotes get it pretty much going away. 41-26 the final. Caden Young, 9 of 13 passing. Great number there. 127 yards passing. Threw no touchdowns, but no interceptions either. 15 carries for 81 yards and a touchdown run. Riley Byington with the big number of the day. 25 carries, 145 yards rushing, and 4 rushing touchdowns as well. Travis Mariero, 3 catches, 61 yards receiving for Montana Tech. Jarrett Wilson, 25 of 39 passing. That's pretty solid, by the way. 367 yards. You cannot discount that. But 2 touchdowns thrown, 1 interception thrown as well. 15 carries, 62 yards rushing, and a touchdown too. Levi Torgerson proved to be human, at least as a passer. 0 for 1 on the day. Who knew he could throw an incomplete pass? And yet, that ball didn't hit the turf. He just threw it to someone in a Yotes uniform. Only interception of the season. He threw an interception on the day. Didn't work out that well. However, receiving, though, 14 catches, 202 yards receiving. Those 14 catches matches a season high for Torgerson. He had 14 against Dakota State about midway through the season. 202 yards receiving, but no touchdowns. And so they couldn't put points on the board for him. Torgerson finishes the season, by the way, with 1,370 yards receiving. And, hey, all right, let's go to the chat here really quickly as we start to move along. Did anyone pick College of Idaho over Montana Tech? Yeah, one person did. But, by the way, Doug, to that point, there was one person who picked College of Idaho to win the turnover battle. And we'll talk about that person just a little bit later on. So there we go. Okay. I think that's all we'll say about that game right now. We may hit that a little bit more later, but College of Idaho will travel. They'll make the long distance trip to a warmer portion of the country where the kickoff temperature lately has been in the mid to high 70s. I think a couple of weeks ago it was like 79 at kickoff. So it's definitely going to be a warmer climate there in West Palm Beach. And Michael, I have to ask you, if you're still watching, you're going to go to that game? You're going to watch the Seahawks take on the Yotes in this one? Please let us know in the chat if you are. So that is our matchup. And we've gone through just 3 games tonight. Really is all that we had to go through there. Let's talk then about our top 5 performances as we move on to another segment. And let's bring that up here. Top 5 performances from Saturday. And here they are, looking at those numbers. Trey Williams with the big hit, swiping the ball away, recovering that ball, and breaking the hearts of so many Falcons fans in Wichita as it shut down that final drive. Trey Williams with one of the top 5 performances on the weekend. He's not alone, though. Grandview's Jackson Waring. Big day for Jackson Waring as he was 14 of 20 passing, again, 70% passing there, had 1 passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown as well. Jarrett Wilson, in a losing effort, could not pass up talking about what Wilson did. 25 for 39 passing, 367 passing yards, accounted for 3 touchdowns on the day. Caden Young, all he does is win right now. 9 for 13 passing, had a rushing touchdown, led the team very well. And then Riley Byington, the big afternoon, 4 rushing touchdowns on the day, carried the ball 25 times to lead his team. Big afternoon for Byington. So there you go, our top 5 performances. Let's move on then into our Bet the Barn segment, and we'll talk about that. That's a good point, Tool Envy. Let's get to that in just a moment, and I want to mention that really quickly. But let's talk about the Bet the Barn segment here, okay? If we can find that graphic. There we go. Bet the Barn segment. All right. We had one winner this week. And Leo, do you know who that one winner is? Well, I mentioned your name, so you probably do know who that one winner is. This week's winner in the Bet the Barn segment was Leo. Leo picked all 3 of them right. We had 3 of our Bet the Barn segment because, of course, Marion and Kaiser did not play. Now, we did have a breaking news video on Thursday. We had an idea that something was going on. We knew something was going to be happening, and it was very likely involving Marion on this. We didn't report anything prior to that except what had been reported online on our Wednesday night show, and there were a couple of sources that are credible sources, so we did post what those sources had to say. We didn't take it any farther than that. No reason to take it any farther than that. Marion and Kaiser did not play because there was an eligibility issue. Marion self-reported, and then just the letter of the law, that's the way it worked out. The NAIA said that Marion had to be removed from the playoff series, the football championship series, so they were. And Kaiser, in essence, got its second bye in the playoffs. So that's how that worked out there. And the reason I say that is because we had a pretty good bet the barn here. We were going to be able to see, who's going to get more carries. Is it Keegan LaBelle, or is it going to be Jaden Miller and Dylan Simon combined? Well, we'll never know. In the meantime, let's talk about this one. Who carries the ball more? Who has more rushing yards in this game? And we thought whoever had the more rushing yards would win this contest. And it turns out that's exactly the way that it played out. Rushing yards in this one for Lindsey Wilson, 95 rushing yards. Grandview had 175. The Vikings went ahead and won. Now, was that all on rushing yards? No, absolutely not. But it did work out as a nice telltale stat. So a number of you all got that one right. And I think as a matter of fact, I don't think there's anybody that got that wrong. I recall someone saying that it would have been different if the forecast had been different, but went ahead and picked that as well. All right, so that was one. Another Bet the Barn segment. College of Idaho at Montana Tech. Who wins the turnover battle? One person picked College of Idaho to win the turnover battle, and that was Leo. Only person to get that one right. And then finally, this one was split. Who would get more? Would friends get over under 400 yards rushing? Over or under 400 yards rushing. They turned out to get 338 on the day, so that was clearly an under. Leo got that one right as well. So nice day for Leo to win in that category. We got to get the totals up here. Robert's in the lead overall in our Bet the Barn segment, and we need to get those totals updated. So I'll try to do that by Thursday night. Okay, yeah, I'll definitely do that by Thursday night. Okay, and so that brings us to, as we start to wrap up tonight's show, and we move toward our midweek show, which will again be on Thursday night this week. And again, programming note, first off, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do, and let someone else know about that too. We appreciate that. It does make a difference, and we're very thankful for you being a part of it. I'm just glad you all are here tonight. As always, I tell Mrs. Midwest Sportsnet, I get to talk to the best community in all of YouTube, and I appreciate so much getting to visit with you all each and every Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Sunday night, whatever it happens to be during the month of November. Sunday night here, as December has gotten underway, it'll be a Thursday night then. But if you haven't subscribed already, please do. And Robert's right there. Let me throw that one up there really, really quickly. Robert has a valid point. Let's see here. Where are we? Oh, we're in the comments section. Yeah, if you haven't subscribed, yeah, and become a member too. You can join. Be great. We do have some members-only content, and I just appreciate the support. It does help the channel. It really does. We're going to be doing a number of things, and let me tell you something else. Was it Robert? I think it was Robert said just a little bit earlier, going to try to make the trip to DFW in a couple of weeks. It's 13 days from now, December 20th, and so asking if anybody else is going to be down there. Doug says he's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Going to be on site for that one. Probably will try to show up on Friday night. That's the plan. Although I will tell you, and I've made this trip to Crowley ISD before, it's like 2 hours and 5 minutes from my house. So if I don't get to stay on Friday night, will be there Saturday morning. We're going to have an early morning Midwest Sports Saturday. Okay, I believe right now, tentatively, it will be at 9 a.m. The live stream will be at 9 a.m. because I'm actually going to get to make the rounds and get to be with a couple of other folks on their channels as well. So we're doing ours early at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning, December 20th. But we're going to be there. Like I said, Doug's going to be there. Robert, hey, I look forward to seeing you. I know I had a chance to visit with you in Edmond recently, but hopefully get to see you down there for that. No matter who's playing, it's going to be a lot of fun. So we do know this. Grandview and Benedictine will meet up one more time this season. We know that College of Idaho is going to take on Kaiser, rematch from a couple of years ago. And let me see here. Robert, I think you were talking about that a little bit earlier, or Michael, excuse me. It's going to be 75 degrees at game time. That should be a lot of fun. Should absolutely be a lot of fun. Yeah, okay, there we are. I think I have that. Michael, Great game. Great game with the Seahawks and the Yotes 2 years ago, hoping for the same outcome on Saturday. No doubt about that. By the way, I don't think I got a chance to go through everyone's chat tonight. Forgive me for that, guys, because we try to hit all of them, and I don't think I had a chance to read everyone's tonight. But I appreciate all of you all being in the chat tonight, too. And I want to ask you this for Thursday night. We're going to do 2 picks, and we're going to have a couple of things in our Bet the Barn segment, too. And you know what? We're not going to give lines, nothing like that. We're not going to give lines, but I think we'll go ahead and put in the Bet the Barn segment outright winner, because you guys have done a pretty good job of picking some of these games. So I'm really anxious to see what some of you all pick and some of these outright winners of the games on this coming Saturday. Should be a lot of fun. You should have opportunities to watch it. I know UEN has been broadcasting a lot, and so that's a nice place to stop by too. But don't forget about places on the radio too, like Tom Kautz. You can listen to his radio broadcast. He's going to be broadcasting that for the Ravens. Now, for Leo and a couple of other Ravens fans, I know that's going to have a nice home field slant to it. But for folks like Sean and Tool Envy, who may be wanting to take it from the Grandview side, we do have, I'm trying to think. We've got some Grandview ties too. We'll try to get all of those radio broadcasts out for you as well by Thursday, because there are some very, very good broadcasters throughout all of, I think, small college. But let's keep it to NAIA right now. Throughout the NAIA, there's some very good broadcasters, and I know that you'll want to get to listen to those calls as well. So I think that wraps it up for the night, because we're not going to go through the semifinal breakdown just yet. That is a midweek breakdown. I want to remind everyone again, we will be going into the off season. We're going year round with college football this week. Doesn't mean that we're not covering other sports on Midwest Sportsnet anymore. That does not mean that at all. We're covering basketball, volleyball, baseball, softball, cheer and dance. I mean, you name it, we're here for all of that. We wanted to definitely represent small college, specifically Division II and NAI, as well as we absolutely can. But college football this week will continue into the off season, and we're just going to make this a year-round thing. And I hope that you all are around for that as well. So, Michael, glad that you were back on tonight. Don't forget, you're going to see more of Doug here on the channel as well. And let's see here. Okay, Robert's question really quickly. If possible, or if time, possibly explain why they didn't let Dort play Kaiser. I think there are a number of reasons for this, but let's talk about the practical side of it really quickly. Okay, the practical side of it is you make plans to, all of the financial stuff and all the plans for getting things together to get a team, which would have to have gone to West Palm Beach. So they would have to have left Sioux Center to go to West Palm Beach. So you've got to get the flights ready. Well, they had already, I'm sure, had exit interviews, because the season was over. So you've already done that. You're turning in some of your equipment. So from that standpoint, then you've got to get everyone back and get all their equipment back together if they haven't turned it all in, and then trying to get all of the transportation ready and all of that. Even though Dort, I'm sure, would have loved to have done it, would have been a nightmare. And then there's the flip side of it for Kaiser. Kaiser thinks they're playing Marion. They've got the film for Marion. And so they prep for Marion throughout at least the first half of the week, until somebody, I'm sure, was letting them know, hey, listen, there's something in the works here. So it would be tough for Kaiser, and probably unfair for Kaiser, then to midway through decide, hey, listen, we've got to stop planning for this team, and now we have to start planning for another team. So I think I think those two factors alone go into it a long way. I was a high school basketball coach for 7 years, 5 years, boys and girls, but for the other two, just boys. And I coached high school football for a year, and was actually an athletic director on the high school level for a year too. And the logistics behind some of these things, just getting high school kids, I can't even imagine what it is to try to have the budget and not just a bus, but fly people out. I'm really enjoying this side of the mic. And I will say this too. Listen, there is nothing, and I mean nothing, like the rush of being on the sidelines. I loved coaching high school basketball. I would do that again. If God opened up the door and I felt like it was the right time, I would do something like that again. Absolutely loved it. I was a decent coach. I was not Roy Williams. I wasn't. I think very highly of Roy Williams. I was not, some of the pick your favorite coach along the way, but I was decent at what I did. And I loved it. The rush of it, it was great. I loved sewing into the young men and young women that I had a chance to sew into in that way. And I'm really enjoying getting to do it on the college level right now. But I have to tell you, at the end of the night, when I'm done broadcasting, whatever it is, basketball, volleyball, football, baseball, softball, soccer, wrestling, I mean, you name it, wherever I've had a chance to go, whether a team won or lost was not my fault. And I went home and I slept, and I sleep pretty well after those broadcasts and knowing that none of that was my fault. So that is there. Anyway, all right, where are we here? Let's run down through these. Hey, God bless you, Michael. Thanks for being on. Hey, listen, all right, appreciate it. Come on again on Thursday night. Yeah, that was kind of what I was thinking. So I agree. And you know what? Maybe there's something even more than that. I don't know. But I would imagine that those two factors alone would be enough that it would have been very, very tough. But anyway, great football team. You're right, Michael. Great football team for Marion this year. Could have been. I'm not gonna say should have been. Maybe should have been. Could have been a very exciting game. All right. Hey guys, I appreciate all of you tonight. We are just past the 3/4 of an hour mark. That's very good. We'll be on Thursday night. We're going to talk a lot of numbers and hopefully get to visit a lot more about 2 more games for this coming Saturday, the semifinals in NAIA football, the championship series for 2025. I hate to see this season come to an end. It's been a lot of fun, and it's been even more fun getting to visit with you all week in and week out. You are the best community in all of YouTube. There is no doubt about that, and it means a lot to get to visit with you all. So please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Most of you all have. Become a member. It does help out a lot, and it does. I think I left off where I was talking about that. We're going to DFW. We're going to Fort Worth. Not really the D part of it, the Fort Worth part of it, the FW part of it. And Crowley ISD is on the south side of Fort Worth, so it's a little bit farther of a trip for me because I'm more north of Dallas right now. I'm less than an hour and a half from Dallas from where I live, depending upon traffic. So it's a little bit more of an angle for me to get to Fort Worth. So it's that 2-hour stretch, but it's a great trip. But it does help us get there, and so I appreciate that. Michael, man, that's if you're planning on being there, I'd have to cheer for the Seahawks then, so you can get there and be a part of that. But I do look forward to meeting you face to face someday as well. God bless you all. Tool Envy, thank you. God bless you guys. Have a really, really good night. I look forward to getting to visit with you again on Thursday. Get some rest. 3 more games on the docket for NAIA in 2025.